Hello, everyone. I'm seeing in the meantime that people are joining. So I hope you can hear me, first of all. And let's wait for a couple of 1 or 2 minutes more to let everyone join to this session. Okay, I think we can start. Yeah, I think anyone who is missing the event um, can can see it again because we are recording this session. So hello everyone. My name is Zoltán. I am the co-founder and CTO of Follow Rabbit, which is a cost management tool, especially focusing on GCP. But during this webinar, we are mostly talking about the BigQuery reservations and how you can cut cost on these services. Just a quick question that please, if someone can help me a little bit in the chat and tell me that you can see everything and you can hear me right. Please give me some feedback that you hear me and you see my screen and everything is okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the feedback. So let me start. During this webinar, I would like to talk about 3 different challenges that we see that mostly our customers face with the BigQuery reservations. The first challenge is about what is the best pricing model. Even if we are speaking about reservations, I will show you quickly that this is not that simple question. The second challenge is about how to set properly the mock slot setting for your reservations, because it can influence a lot your reservation cost. And the third challenge is about the commitment strategy. So what can you do to maximize the commitment saving possibility within BigQuery? Before we jump into the first challenge, let's just quickly recap that what's the pricing model for the compute cost in BigQuery, because there are too many choices and with little guidance from Google end. So from one end, you can choose the on-demand one, where you are basically billed based on the amount of data that you are reading. And you can have the capacity-based, where you can create different reservations. There you can pick from different edition types like standard, enterprise, and enterprise plus, depending on what are your needs. And for the last two, so for enterprise and enterprise plus, you can have 1 year or 3 years commitment for 20 or 40 discount on the slots that you are committing for. And why I am talking about the on-demand pricing if this session is about the reservations. You can ask this, but let me show you one real use case that we had with one of our clients. That if we were checking their cost and they were using on-demand pricing, so they were built based on the amount of data that they are reading. We saw that their cost was 238K per month for the BigQuery compute cost. And we did a quick analysis, and it came out that they had a terabyte and petabyte scale data. So they read a lot of amount of data at the background, and their queries wasn't that complex in terms of computation. So it was a huge saving for them to shifting to reservation and having their shifting to capacity-based pricing with reservation. I think it was an enterprise one because this was a production system, and that was the best choice. So as you can see here, their cost immediately went down to 103K per month. So this is a 66% saving, and I think this is usually an obvious optimization. So probably most of you, I assume, are using already reservations. But the thing what wasn't that obvious is that we also checked that, okay, what happens if you are not putting everything into capacity-based pricing or into reservations? So what happens if you are selecting some of the projects and you put it in on-demand pricing and some of them to reservation? And for that specific client, it came out that if they are using this kind of mixed model, so for some of the projects, they are using on-demand pricing, and for some of them, capacity-based. At the end, their cost went down to 76K. So this is another 26% saving compared to the capacity-based one. So compared to the one when everything is on capacity-based pricing. So basically, my suggestion here is that check the different jobs that you have. You can use the information schema for it and analyze it, that wherever it makes sense to put it either on reservation or into on-demand pricing. Because usually I see that there is a 10 to 30% saving potential if we see a customer where everything is in a reservation or in a capacity-based model, and there is a 20 to 30% saving potential if you put out some of the usage. And especially now, some of you may are aware that Google introduced a new feature within BigQuery a couple of weeks ago. So after it was introduced after Google Next, that earlier how you can assign the workloads to reservation was really restrictive, because the lowest level what you can do was projects. So you were able to assign different projects into reservations, and you wasn't able to go deeper. Because what we see that if you are going even deeper, because it can happen that you have millions of queries within one GCP project, and if you are looking into one GCP project, it can happen that, I don't know, 20% of your queries should use on-demand and 80% should use reservation or other way around. And the thing is that earlier, if you wanted to do such an optimization, then it was really complex, because you had to create a different GCP project And manually, you have to look up for your queries where it makes sense to put it into, for instance, on-demand pricing. And look up your code, change it, or your dashboarding, or whatever tool you are using to run your queries, and change the GCP project to another one which is on-demand pricing, which is, I think, really, really, really hard to do, and usually doesn't make sense, doesn't give you the win on the other hand. But now Google introduced that in runtime, you are able to specify on a query level that it should run in which reservation, or it should run, even you can specify that it should run in on-demand mode. So this is something that you can do now on a query level, which is a new feature from Google, which is a pretty important thing, because now you can look up the optimization opportunities on query level, and basically this is pretty new for us as well. And we have created around that a new feature within Rabbit, that we are providing different plugins for different orchestrating tools like Airflow, dbt, Looker, or whatever programming language you are using to run your queries. And with this kind of plugin, we are able to tell you on query level that should you run it on a reservation or it should be on demand, because we are creating statistics about every query runs, and usually most of the queries are the queries that you are running again and again. And we are able to automatically give you this kind of recommendation in the time when you are running your queries, that it should run in which reservation. And this is something that we released for this customer, for instance, and we were able to save them another, I think it was around 23% compared to that price. Because earlier we did this kind of recommendation only on project level, but now this is something in a very, very granular level on a query level. So so that's the point here, that don't forget the on-demand pricing. This is something that can save you a lot. And with this new feature within BigQuery, now you are able to route to different reservations or on-demand pricing on query level. So basically you can override the default setting what you have with the reservations and assignments. Just a quick information here. If you are in the middle of planning that what's the best pricing model for you, and you are not yet using the reservation, then you can consider using Rabbit, because this is a print screen from our product that, based on the historical usage, we are able to give you this kind of comparison that for the last 30 days, this was the on-demand cost. And you can see that, for instance, the standard one doesn't make sense, because for these kind of workloads, they need more than 1,600 slots. But if they are using Enterprise or Enterprise Plus, then this would be the cost. This is estimated really punctual based on the historical usage within Rabbit, and you can easily find out that what would be the best pricing model for you. And even we are giving recommendations around. So if you have everything on reservation, then we are also giving recommendations that you may put out some of your projects from the reservation. And what I mentioned, that we have now this new feature that we are able to do that automatically on a query level. Before we jump into the second challenge, about what would be the best max slot setting for the reservations when you are going there. Let me just quickly explain what we saw how the autoscaler works with BigQuery. Because one important note that I assume you are aware of it, that the autoscaler can scale the slots in increments by 50 slots. So this is one thing. And the other, I think, really restrictive thing is that the billing is based on a 60 seconds minimum. So there is a 60 seconds minimum bill that you have to pay for, which means that if you shoot some kind of BigQuery to BigQuery, and it scales up to your max slot because it is able to consume all of your slots that you have set for the reservation. And let's assume that it will finish within 5 or 10 seconds, because it can happen that those slots are enough for it, and it can finish. And the thing is that if there isn't any other workloads, then basically you are charged, you are billed for the rest until the 1 minute ends, even if you are not using it. And this is what you can see here in the diagram. This is a real example from one of our clients, that we see that BigQuery can scale up too fast, which is sometimes good, because if you have a workload where you need to meet your SLA and run it in time, then this is a good thing. If you have not that critical job, then this is not that good thing. And here you can see that, and sometimes it scales down too slow. And what you can see here is that the red line is the max slot setting. So it is able to scale up until 10K slots, 10,000 slots. This is what you can see here with the red line. You can see this green line, which are the slots that are needed behind the jobs, behind that reservation. Basically, this is a really granular diagram, because this is only for a couple of minutes, and every data point here is a second. And the blue one is the BigQuery autoscaler, how it is reacting to the customer needs. And basically, this is what you are paying for, the blue line. And the point here is that you can see here that, okay, here the usage went up, the autoscaler went up as well. It was used for a couple of minutes, and at some point the usage went down, but still the autoscaler was here for another minute or so, and only after a minute it scaled down. But this area, what you can see here, this is a really big rabbit hole, because this is pure waste. You are paying for that part, for this amount, but as you can see here, that the job doesn't need it at all at that point. And basically, this is happening because of this kind of 60 seconds minimum billing, and it is not really scaling down sometimes well. Let me bring you 3 different use cases about how this kind of waste works, because what we see that this wastage that is generated by the 60 seconds minimum billing can go up to 60%, sorry, which means that more than half of the reservation costs are waste. So you are paying for it, but your jobs are not using it at all. And let me bring 3 different use cases and how big this kind of wastage could be. So for one reservation, but you can see here, the max slot setting is around 400. And you can see that if we are checking that how many times during a month, is the reservation peaking at the max slot? You can see it's around 50%. So half of the time, the reservation is using all of the 400 slots that are set for this reservation. And here the waste is around 19%, which is actually good because you are not able to eliminate every waste because of the 50 slot increments and the 60-second minimum billing. So some waste there is in the play of the autoscaler. But the thing is that this waste can go up. For instance, for this reservation, the max slot setting was around 4,000, and it peaked at that max slot around 26% of the time. So not that much compared to the previous one. And now you can see that the waste went up to 30%. So here the 30% of the cost was purely waste, and it wasn't used by the jobs behind the reservation. For the last example, what I am bringing you, it's a much bigger reservation because they are using 8,000 slots, and they are just using, they are peaking at that max slot only 20% of the time, but they need to set these 8,000 slots because they have a couple of minutes around the day or specific hours where they have the business critical jobs that they need to run in time. And if they are not giving enough slots for that, then they won't finish in time. So they need that. But the problem is that they also have the other times where they don't need that much slot, but still, as I mentioned earlier, BigQuery autoscaler can scale up too eagerly. The query finishes early, and they are paying for the rest. And this is causing almost 50% waste for this usage. This slide is not that updated. From that time, we are having new customers where I see that this wastage could go up to 60% as well. So this is a really good, important thing if you are using the autoscaler to check it and to carry it about. But what can you do? First of all, I think it's really, really important to understand what's your waste. We have a blog post in our website where we published an SQL, a BigQuery SQL that you can use because this data is available within BigQuery in the information schema. So we provided there an example SQL that you can use to run within your BigQuery, and you would be able to understand how many slot hours you need based on the jobs and how many slot hours you had for the reservation that you were billed. And basically the difference is the waste. So you would be able to see what is your wastage. And if you see that this is 30 or 40 or 50 or 60%, what can you do? So there are three different things. First of all, for sure, try to lower the max slot as much as possible. But again, as I mentioned earlier, for this use case, it's not a solution for all of the different usages. Because here you can see for this first example, there wasn't that big usage behind this reservation, and they were able to set just 400. But this is something that's not applicable for all of the use cases. So in this case, what you can consider is that you can split the reservation into, you can split the usage into multiple reservations. So you can have your critical jobs and put there 8,000 slots where you need to meet your SLAs, and just separate all of the rest or the other jobs and have a lower max slot setting like 1,000, 2,000, or depending on the use case. So what are the rest workloads? So this is one example, because in this case the waste would be lower. Or this is something that could be made complex, because sometimes customers are having 1, 2, 3 big reservations, and they have hundreds of GCP projects behind that, hundreds of Airflow pipelines, dbt pipelines, Looker dashboards, data flow jobs, and so on, you name it. And it's really hard to analyze and separate those workloads into different reservations. And what you can do, if you are not able to do that, or it's really hard in terms of engineering effort, is the third option, that you can think about automatically changing the max load setting, because this is something that is possible as well. And what you can do, there are two ways. One thing is that if you know that at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. you have the high usage, then you are changing the max load based on a schedule logic to 8,000, and at 3 a.m. you are lowering back to 2,000, or for whatever slots you need in the rest of the time. And from our experience, we see that with these kind of automatic slot adjustments, customers are able to save around 5 to 10% on the reservation cost. So it's I think it's worth the effort to analyze your daily usage pattern and change the max slot setting, because you can easily create some kind of small application around that and change it automatically. But if you are looking for a bigger saving, if your waste is too high, then let me show you one feature that we built, because with Rabbit we are able to automatically change the max slot setting on a second basis. And basically that's the best scenario, because with that type of granular changes, you are able to save a lot. So for instance, here is a client where we were able to lower from the 48% to 29 the wastage. And basically this is an outdated slide. So since then we updated our algorithm, and now it's around 24, if I remember correctly. And this is a huge potential, because for instance here we were able to save more than 30% on the reservation cost, which is a big money if you are spending multiple 10 or hundreds of Ks per month on the reservation. And how it works, this is what you can see in a diagram. So this is one specific hour we are zooming into. Here the red line is the max slot, and now you can see that this is not a static value. You can see that we change this automatically multiple times, and now you can see it's trying to reflect the real usage better. And how it works, there are two ways. Basically, one thing is that it learns your usage pattern based on the historical usage, because let's say there are some predictable usages for the scheduled ETL pipelines, and we are able to learn it and preset the max slot when we see that at 2 a.m. you are running a lot of things, or basically this is based on a second basis. So it's really granular. If we see that you start the job at 2 a.m., but the BigQuery load will arrive at 2:30 or later, then we will do the change only on that time. And also it can happen that you have ad hoc usage, you release new pipelines and so on. And in this case, we are also monitoring the real-time usage. And if we see that the utilization is high, then we are automatically raising the max slot as well. So this is something that you can think about, lowering the max slot, split the reservation, and automatically adjust it, even with your own logic. Or if you want to go further, you can think about our feature here. And the third challenge is about the commitment that I brought you here two different examples, what you can see here. The red line is a flat usage. When you can see here in the diagram the minutes in an hour, and you can see that that how many slots are used in the different minutes. And the red line is a flat usage, and you can see that the blue line is more the bursty usage, that it runs for a couple of minutes, then none of the slots are used, and it uses more, and so on. And the interesting thing is that if we are comparing, let's assume that this is the usage pattern that happens for the whole month. The interesting thing is that if you don't have any commitment, then the cost is the same for both of the usages, because at the end, if we are adding up the slot hours that you are paying for the red line and for the blue line, so the area between the lines, those are identical. So the cost would be the same. And let's assume that you want to commit and do some kind of scenario around that. So for instance, if you do a commitment with a 50 slots, which is the lowest one, but you can do for 1 year, then basically for the burst usage, so for the blue line, then your cost would be higher by 6%. So it doesn't make sense at all to commit for this kind of usage. But for the red line, you can see that you can commit for 250 slots for 1 year, and you would be able to save 18% on that. And this is a really, really easy example for sure. But what I wanted to show you, the point here is that usually the BigQuery usage is really bursty. What usually how clients are using it. And what you can do is that you can analyze your usage, your peak usage, and think about to somehow flatten it. So for instance, for one of our clients, what we helped them is that they had a business requirement to run their pipelines on every hour. So run it every hour. And what they did, it's an obvious thing, that they started all of their pipelines at every hour at 0 minute. So they had a big burst at the beginning of the hour, and they didn't have anything for the rest. And what they did is that they, let's say, randomly shifted all of the pipelines to evenly distribute within the hour, the start time. So some of them started at the hour 0 minute, some of them started at the hour 5th minute, the 10 minutes, 15, and so on, you can imagine. And with this kind of start time adjustment, basically, they still met the business requirement, because it wasn't the requirement that it should finish at the hour 10 minutes. The requirement was to run it on every hour. So they are still running it and updating the things every hour, once in an hour, but they are distributing their loads within the hour, so they are able to flatten the usage and don't have the beginning hour peak. So they were able to commit for it and save cost on that part. But that depends on the use case. So it's not that simple all of the time, but but this is something that you can think about. And I have one more recommendation here. That Google introduced, that now you are able to do a spend-based commitment for BigQuery as well. And why is it important is that earlier what I am speaking here right now is the slot commitments. So here you can create 1 or 3 years commitment for certain amount of slots. And how it works is that this is basically calculated and built on a second basis. So if your usage is really bursty within an hour, then it doesn't make sense for some of the use cases. But the interesting thing about the spend-based commitment for BigQuery, this is the same type of spend-based commitment what is available for Compute Engine or Spanner or Cloud SQL or Cloud Run and so on. Basically, there you are specifying that you want to commit for 1 year or 3 years that you are spending $6 for BigQuery on every hour. This is something like that. And in exchange, you will get discount. And what is a good thing is that this is something that is calculated on an hourly basis and not on a second basis. So meaning that that if you have this kind of peaky usage at the beginning of the hour, then the spend-based commitment can work for you as well. Because this is calculated on an aggregated hourly level and not on a second basis. So in this case, it's a little bit easier. But on the other hand, you won't get that big discount because as you have seen here at the beginning, that if you are doing commitments for the slots, then you get 20 or 40% discount on 1 or 3 years. And if you do the spend-based commitment, then you will get just 10 for 1 year and 20 for 3 years. But still, this is something that you can save on. And it also works for the standard one as well. It doesn't work for the on-demand pricing model. But the standard is something that you can do for. And one thing is that within Rabbit, we have this kind of feature that you are able to break down your usage around the day. And this is an aggregated view, a daily view for multiple days, like for the last 30 days. And you are able to see, okay, what is your usage at 2 a.m. And as an average around the last 30 days. So you are able to see how peaky your usage is within the day. So if I want to summarize and just tell you the key takeaways about the different challenges and what you can do, one is that it's really important to think about the on-demand and the capacity-based pricing, using it together, especially with this new feature within BigQuery that you are able to set it on a really granular level, which is query level. The second thing is that lowering the max slot or automatically changing can save a lot. Again, as I mentioned, we were able to lower the cost for reservation for our customers more than 30% with our automation tool that is adjusting the max slot on a second basis. And the third part is that try to flatten your usage whenever it's possible to maximize the commitment. So this is what I wanted to tell you in a nutshell about the different strategies to cut your cost with your reservations. If you want to easily find out your wastage for reservations, you can try out our tool, Follow Rabbit. You can visit our website. We have a 1 month free trial. So so you can try it out without any commitment. We need just a couple of read-only permission. You don't need to install any agent or something like that, and you would be able to immediately see how it works. So if you go to our UI, at the beginning, you will see a quick 2 or 3 minutes demo video about the product if you are interested. And we still have some time left, so I'm happy to answer any questions. So if you have any specific question about what I taught here, or if you face any other issues, then feel free to put any question here, and I'm happy to answer it. Time to drink. Okay, in the chat. How to start with mux allocations in any analytical project? What do you mean here? You mean the mux slot? Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's a good question. There are two things what you can do, because if you haven't used the reservations earlier, then the good news is that that in the information schema, so there is an information schema jobs in BigQuery. I will put here information schema jobs. Just a second, I will put here the link. So there is an information schema within BigQuery that you can query, and there you can find out how much data it reads from the tables. So basically, this is how you are built on the on-demand pricing. But the good news is that the slots are also there that were consumed by the queries. And basically, based on that, you are able to summarize it and aggregate it on a second or minute or hourly basis. That what was the slot consumption for your jobs that you run in the last 30 days for a specific period, and you can check, okay, what was your peak usage. So this is what you can do. Just to show you a quick example, let me share my screen quickly about what Rabbit is doing. Just a second, because I mentioned you earlier that we have a reservation planner functionality that basically here you are able to put together this kind of virtual plan. So we are able to do this kind of recommendation, because here you put your project that you are interested to, and we will immediately show you this kind of breakdown. This is what you can see here, that for instance here, the recommended mock slot is around 4,500, but you can see that this is an hourly breakdown, and you can see that how many slots you have used in the past on every hour as an average. But sometimes the average is not a good metric, because you can have peaky usage, and this is the reason why we are also calculating the P90 or P95, because this is something that we are calculating on a second basis, but here the data is aggregated on an hourly basis. And the P90, for instance, shows here that what is the top 10% usage within that hour. And here you can see that sometimes it's a little bit more than an average. So the average usage was 1,800 in that particular hour. But this won't be enough for you if you set it there, because you can see that the P90 or P95 usage was much higher, 30K or 5,000. So this is the reason that if you set it too low, then you will cause performance issues for your queries. But here within Rabbit, this is how you can analyze it, or I send you the link for the information schema. You can do that as well. You can analyze the slot needs for your historical queries, even if you haven't used the reservation, because the data will be there. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if there isn't any question, then I'm really thank you that you were here and you were interested around that topic. If you have any question, then feel free to reach out to us anytime, and have a nice day. Thank you very much. Bye.